Welcome to the Pushing Beauty podcast. This is Michelle Diavella, and these are words from my soul. Welcome. So today's reading rec is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. This is a book that has been sort of circulating in different Facebook groups I'm a part of. I've been seeing it posted on Instagram pretty frequently over, I don't know, probably the past couple of years or months or something. I don't even know how old this book is. I think it's pretty old. And there's a lot of good information in here. 2009. It's from 2009. So I just wanted to share specifically what I want to share is what he talks about around relationships, which I always find to be really fascinating. And a lot of my work focus on relationships and healing so that you can be in a really incredible relationship. But I want to just give a little bit of context about what he speaks about in the book. So most of it is about what he calls kind of conquering what he calls our upper limit problem. So it's when we create sort of a glass ceiling for ourselves where we don't allow ourselves to have more success, have more happiness, have more freedom, have more of what it is we truly want. And one of, I've heard of this before and I had tended to think like, oh, that's not really for me. But then I realized he had talked about like worrying being an upper limit problem. And I was like, oh shit, actually that's like definitely something that I have a habit of doing. You know, if work slows down a little bit, or if things get a little bit quiet, or if maybe it feels like money's not flowing, my immediate instinct would be to start worrying about it. And, you know, he calls that an upper limit problem. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but that's sort of the context of the book. And then at the very end, he starts to get more into relationships. And I'm going to read you a little bit of the parts that I found to be like most profound. And they're actually quite simple, but that's what I think is always most powerful. So he says, a vast amount of energy can be liberated in relationships by dropping the habit of projection. As mentioned, projection occurs when you attribute to others something that's true for you inside yourself. For example, a man may complain to me that his wife is too passive. If he were to own his projection, he would say, I have not learned to handle a relationship in which a woman is being powerful and equal. So I create relationships with women in which I require them to be passive. A woman may complain that her partner dominates her and limits her full expression. If she were to own the projection, she would say, I attract men who dominate and control me. I have not learned how to be my own boss and take up my full space in the world. Projection is the source of power struggles that eat up energy and intimacy in relationships. Power struggles are a war between two people to see whose version of reality will win out. Much of the energy in troubled relationships is drained through power struggles about who's right, who's wrong, and who's the biggest victim. Relationships, healthy ones that is, exist only between equals. When both people are not taking 100% responsibility, it is an entanglement, not a relationship. There is only one way to transform an entanglement into a relationship. Both people must drop projection and see that they are 100% the creators of their reality. With the energy saved from banishing power struggles, much more can be co-created than the partners could have created on their own. So I see this a lot with the people that I work with in their own relationship dynamics or in past partner relationships. And I love this, last part where he talks about, the only way really to have a true healthy relationship is to remove the power struggle and to take 100% responsibility for creating your own reality. This is the problem in so many relationships where we're blaming one another for things instead of looking at ourselves and taking responsibility for ourselves. And the examples he gives about the projection are so on point. We don't ever really hear anybody, explaining their relationship situations in the way that takes responsibility for what they're not actually comfortable with or what they're not really willing to face into themselves. So I am a firm believer that relationships are an incredible opportunity for us to learn and grow. But I also feel like if you are somebody who's listening to this right now and you're not in a relationship yet and you're dating, I recently wrote an article about being single that might resonate with you or might give you some things to think about, because my stance on it is really that if you really are ready to have a truly incredible relationship, one in which you are both equals and you're both supporting each other as you grow and, explore and journey and have fun, then it's a really wonderful opportunity being single is. It's a really wonderful opportunity to get to a place where you're really ready to have that kind of relationship. More often than not, we tend to get into a relationship because we feel lonely, because we want somebody else to show us that we're lovable. So when you can actually do the work and learn how to love yourself, and this is not an intellectual understanding, I'm speaking about like an actual energetic shift, an opening of your heart, a deeper connection to yourself spiritually and emotionally, then I think, if we started to get into relationships from that place, our relationships would look very different. I wanted to share one more part about this topic. Let me find it. Okay, so he says, there are several ways we limit positive energy in relationships. One is by starting arguments out of fear of intimacy, at times when we could be exchanging intimacy. Another is by withholding significant communications. We get scared of being close, for example, and instead of telling the microscopic truth about it, in parentheses, my belly felt tight and my skin contracted when I heard you say, we withdraw and swallow the communication. Another way we limit positive energy is by needing to control or dominate the other person, or needing to be controlled or dominated. If we always have to be right, for example, there is no room in the relationship to be happy. I love that quote. If we always have to be right, for example, there is no room in the relationship to be happy. And then he starts to give a couple of points of things that you can do in a relationship that will actually kind of help the relationship grow. So there's about 5 points, 6 points actually. So I'm not going to get into all of them, but I really even feel like this book, just for those couple of chapters at the end, if you're kind of going through relationship stuff or you're interested in learning more about having healthy relationships, would be definitely worth reading. And then even understanding how you're holding yourself back, how you're kind of creating your own glass ceiling, and then how to take what he calls the big leap. You can check out his book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Thanks again so much for being with me, and I'll see you next time.